This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with Cristina Gemignani in
Bertinoro, Romagna.
Bertinara, Romagna.
Yes.
Now, we've been here today tasting some Sangiovese di Romagna. What does Sangiovese di Romagna mean to you?
Well, to me, Sangiovese it's the big challenge of a life, because when I took my degree in agriculture at the University of Milan, I would have never thought that I would have become a wine grower in this region. The region is not as much reputed as Tuscany, because it has a more recent history about wine producer. Sangiovese, anyway, is settled in this area since a long time, at least 3 centuries. And it was a different style of Sangiovese at the time, because of course there was no machine work in the vineyard, so all the vineyard was located in the upper part of the hillside area, and it was work with the cows, or with the animals. And it was just in the mid of the 50s and 60s who started to introduce the tractory and to work at them, and to, I should say, plant vineyard more in function of the machine than for the quality of the vineyard and the wine itself. So when I joined my family in Zerbina in the mid of the 80s, it was just a sort of restoring the whole concept of the high density vineyard with the Albarello, which is a sort of Gobelin style vines. And really to show that we could grant a very high profile to the quality of Sangiovese also in this region. We changed completely the way of working the vineyard, so small vineyard tractor, no larger than a meters to go through these vines. We replanted only with indigenous clones and clones of this region, who has been selected by the university in the 60s, and they are small berry Sangiovese, originally born in this area. And we have been very focused also on using specific rootstock depending on the type of soil we have in the vineyard, because Zerbina is almost in every place characterized by a very deep heterogeneity of soils, so we try to adapt different rootstock and different clones to different soil. And then the following step was to make a very deep mapping of the plots where we got a very chalky and clay soil to get the best value of a Sangiovese Piccolo. That's the big job we have made in the last 25 years, and I think it's the only way to show an identity in the wine that we do.
That was quite an expansive answer, considering my very simple question, I thought. How would you describe the house style at Zerbina? I mean, you touched upon that there, but if you were to explain what makes your wines so different from so many of the other producers within not only your sub-region, but Romagna as a whole?
I think that firstly, when we speak about Romagna, we speak about a region where Sangiovese is something that belongs to our history, but the winemaking of Sangiovese hasn't left a tradition in this region, except for a few producers who has been involved in this job since 40-50 years. So my idea of Sangiovese is that it's a very difficult variety, because the clones are not homogeneous, so in the same clone you can find different expression the behavior.
Right.
And that means that when you selected it in the harvest during the vintage, you have really to be careful, just taking the right clones and assembling the only one who are really identifying the best character of Sangiovese to build up a style of a Riserva Sangiovese. So just at the best top, at the best plot, where the skins are very thick, where the fruit is very well developed, so you don't have a green phenolic character. And also the winemaking has to be adapted every vintage to the character of the fruit on that time. So maybe in very good vintages with a big structure, so having longer and deep skin contact, in the ones which are lighter, having a skin contact that has to be much more careful. So no longer maceration, but shorter to try to push the fruity character instead the big structure.
There seem to be two definite schools of thought when it comes to vinification and the making of wine within Romagna. I've seen some very, very traditional styles of wine, which are the more elegant, the more kind of reserved wines with a lot more kind of tannic quality to them, a lot more minerality and a wonderful dry finish to them. But then there are also lots that seem to be very, very fruit driven, and also with a preponderance of new oak. What are your thoughts on my take on what I've seen within the region?
Well, the relationship with the oak is something that belongs to the history of the estate. At the beginning, I had a strong relationship with the oak. Now it's something which is more, I don't want to say superficial, but it's something that I don't need as much as at the beginning. We use oak, but it's not a new oak, and it's about 30% each vintage. And what I do is I have introduced about 10 years ago the oak fermentation. That was unusual. So to ferment it 50% of the top selected Sangiovese in barrel. And I think that the tradition is something that you have to build on your own skin. I mean, we don't have as much tradition as in other regions. But we have to build it really choosing to give to our own wine a specific style. That to me is to have wines which are very austere with serious tannins, structure but also fresh and elegant and not jammy. And just to drive the fermentation also in a way to approach this final result.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today at Good Food Revolution. I have one last question for you, which is, what does good food mean to you?
Good food means to me, first of all, the use of the material, who has to be grown in a more trusty way, who belongs to the tradition of the place, possibly preservative free.
Yes, oh yeah.
And it's something that doesn't necessarily has to be complex, or at least it can be complex, but the complexity has to be used very cleverly. So I prefer a very good fresh material, just cooked in a very simple way, instead of something very complicated where you lose really the essence of the ingredient.
That's a fantastic answer.
Thank
Christina,
you.
thank you for joining us today at Good Food Revolution. We look forward to catching up with you, perhaps in Toronto.
Surely. Thank you to you. Bye-bye.